we are going to go through an article on aging and the brain and how the brain is maybe functioning and what we can do about getting older and maybe just getting Alzheimer's. Maybe this is also going to be a topic. I don't know, because I haven't had a look at this article. We're going to I'm going to react to it, and I'm also going to read it. But yeah, there's going to be more after the intro, as always. And I'm still dizzy, and I don't actually know why. Kind of is an interesting thing, though, to see that. But yeah, with that being said, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And I am indeed really looking forward to recording this episode. So let's actually head right into it. There is actually another section that I should be talking about, but please check out the description. or the show notes if you're on the podcast. Please do that and please try to do that, because it is important, and you also are gonna benefit from that. But yeah, as you can see now on the left side of the screen, now it is all right. So it is actually such an amazing website. I love the illustration there. It is just so well incorporated into the whole thing. The whole typography is good. Everything is nice. Everything is clean. Everything is so fucking beautiful. And I love that. And by the way, this is from Hokyong Kim for Quartz. And it is an amazing illustration. I love it. I really do love it. And I do also hope that, and it is like a series of things. It's a series of everything looking kind of the same way, but it is amazing. It really is an amazing thing. But we're gonna go through the article, which is called "How the Human Brain Stays Young Even as We Age" by Catherine Ellen Foley, health and science reporter. So I'm actually gonna mark that, so and so that it is also going to be in the free PDF that you're going to find in the description and or in show notes. The brain is a well-designed machine. If it is working well, like when it is reading the words on this page, we don't notice it at all. At night when we sleep, the brain takes our consciousness offline so it can start its real work, sorting through the day's information, storing the important parts and cleaning out the gunk that accumulated. And I think it's quite of an important thing to mention that it is the case that we're doing this when we are sleeping. I think especially in the REM phase, or only in the REM phase. So having a good night's rest is something that's probably one of the most important things you can have. And I'm not talking about hours there, because I'm not quite sure if hours do actually matter that much, at least as much as a lot of people think it does. The brain is so well designed, in fact, that we hardly even notice when it is breaking down. Like the rest of our organs, the brain undergoes its own aging process, and yet the majority of adults don't experience major cognitive decline, the kind that severely limits their ability to live independently or to live independently over time. That's because the brain is one of the most resilient organs in the body. Yes, dementia affects about 5.6% of the world's population, a share that includes the devastating burden of Alzheimer's disease. But in normal aging, even as parts of the brain shrink and neurons lose connection with each other, those changes only have a minor effect on our daily lives. It may be frustrating to forget where you put your keys, but you can still learn that you're prone to forgetting them and pick up the habit of writing notes for yourself. You could, but I don't know, I think it is... having a healthy diet and just trying to lead a healthy life is also just a really, 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 really intensively important point there, I'd say. Because, live a happy life, live a healthy life. And I do assume that a happy life means a healthy life, because you're not going to be happy if you're always constantly at home because you're ill, I'd say. For adults who remain neurologically healthy into their latest years, the brain constantly adapts and even thrives under new conditions. But how it pulls it off is a mystery scientists are still trying to solve. The hope is that if researchers can understand how healthy brains stay resilient, they can identify what is happening when these systems fail, often leading to dementia. Which is a really fucked up thing, which you might also know if you just know somebody that is having dementia. Never constant, The brain's incredible resilience comes, at least in part, from its plasticity. The rest of the body's organs carry out roughly the same job from the moment we are born. Albeit, on a larger scale as we grow, the heart pumps blood, the liver and kidneys filter, and the stomach churns food. I hope I've read that correctly, because I actually don't know. Not the brain. Babies' brains are equipped with billions of neurons, but they have to be warmed up and molded to be useful. Over as many as 25 years, neurons from hundreds of thousands of connections as we learn and make memories. Some of these connections are cropped as they're not needed. Others grow stronger as we learn to reason in the abstract, mitigate impulsive and risky behavior, and plan ahead for the future. And this is also probably one of the reasons why you shouldn't be smoking weed before the age of 25, because then after the age of 25, your brain is not developing anymore. But before it does, or it is developing, and therefore it might not be one of the best ideas to just fuck with that then. So maybe we should be thinking about that. Shortly after the brain finishes fully forming, though, it starts to wear down. Aging is a lifelong biological process, says Kirsten Kennedy, a neuroscientist at the University of Texas at Dallas, who studies healthy cognitive aging. There's some disagreement about exactly when the brain starts to show signs of wear and tear. Some of the limits research available suggests it happens around middle age. Some suggest our 30s and some even in our 20s. But the consensus is that some shrinkage is inevitable and normal. Specifically, the prefrontal cortex and media lobes, areas involved with high-level functioning like planning, emotional processing, learning, and memory, get a little smaller, says Elizabeth Zielinski, a neuroscientist and gerontologist at the University of Southern California. So I do also believe that some sort of shrinking and some sort of wearing it down is just something that is going to happen. But I believe as well that we can do something about this and about it. And I would also notice or say that in terms of the prefrontal cortex, as far as I know at least, meditating might be a good idea. And also just, as I said, getting enough sleep, because this could also just have bad effects on your brain, which is something that I'm seeing kinda as well, because, if I'm just more or less tired, or at least my body is tired, but I really don't. The funny thing is, even if I've just slept like 5 hours or some shit, 5 times in a row, so 5 nights in a row, which is definitely not as much as I actually need, which is definitely just below my needs, definitely, like really, really fucking definitely. The thing there is that I don't really notice it. The thing there is that I don't really care about it when I'm in my day. Of course, for example, I'm noticing it when I'm recording something that the whole talking part isn't as easy as it could be. And also I'd say that my dizziness might come from that. It might also come from just not being hydrated enough, which is something that I'm not quite sure of, since I'm not thirsty, so why should I be drinking? And other things that I've been talking about before. But yes, it is a little bit of a difficult thing. But I still just think that not sleeping is not a good idea. Especially if you're just doing this over longer periods of time. And in the end, it really does not come up to whatever the fuck you're doing when you're sleeping, or how much you're sleeping, kinda. But it really comes up to how much you're doing during the day. Because, if I'm doing everything right now, if I'm doing everything as fast as I fucking can, then I'm probably going to be able to finish up with everything in, 3 hours. I do not even need the whole day. This is the second recording of today. Afterwards, I basically don't have to do anything. Basically, not really, but basically. So, because I've already finished up with the posts, I've done them, I've uploaded them. Then I have already just posted my blog post for the day. The videos are done for the day. Therefore, the podcast is also done. The descriptions, I do need to do the thumbnails for the videos. Then the other postings that I have to do, and then I'm going to do something different. And then I'm having the ability to do something different. Then I could, for example, go out because it's such nice weather today. And I should go out. I should step outside and do something. And then I'm probably going to work on my diploma as well. Which is also one of the reasons why I'm trying to do everything as fast as I can, so that I'm having more time to especially do my diploma, because I haven't been working that much on it, and I really do want it to be just something that's huge, kinda. I do just really want to go extreme on that for a bit, and I just need to just somehow create time for that, and I'm able to do this, and I think we all are able to do things, even though we are just doing quite a lot of things. But anyway, research hasn't shown that brain shrinkage causes those mild memory changes, though. And on a whole, the physical changes in the brain barely affect our daily lives. Take, for example, the results of the Long Beach longitudinal study, which Zelinsky started in 1978 to track the cognitive health of hundreds of healthy adults. One of its findings was that people forget roughly 1/10 of a word per year. In other words, Zelinsky says if you could remember a series of 17 words in 1 year, it would take a full decade for you to only be able to recall 16, a decline most people wouldn't even notice. The brain's plasticity, on average, keeps our memories delightfully intact, which is quite an interesting thing, and I'm gonna highlight that. Only about 5% to 8% of adults go on to develop dementia, which is characterized as severe cognitive decline that inhibits everyday function. Scientists still aren't sure what goes wrong in the cases and why these individuals' brains are vulnerable in ways that normal healthy brains are not. I do really believe that if you're just leading a healthy life with enough healthy eating, physical activity, and whatnot, that chances are pretty fucking good that you're not going to develop any fucking diseases. At least this is what I believe. This is what I think. And maybe this is just something that I'm hoping for. Could also be the case. The problem, says Jonathan Hakoon, a psychologist at Penn State University, is that nothing is really entirely normal. The resistant or resilient, the great debate. Advances in neuroimaging have both helped and hindered the study of aging in the brain. It turns out, even when older adults carry out the same tasks as younger adults, their brains may be functioning completely differently. The functional changes are wild, Hakoon says. When we complete mentally stimulating tasks, we engage neurons all across our brains. Distant neurons talk to each other through axons, which extend tentacle-like from the body of one neuron to tickle another with an electrical signal, which is kind of a funny just thing to imagine, I would say. Scientists refer to the network of anxious or axons in our brains as white matter, while the bodies of neurons and other cells in the brains are gray matter. Starting in the early 2000s, imaging tools like MRIs gave scientists the insights that some cortical shrinking is common in older adults. But they uncovered another change in older brains too. Imaging showed the structural integrity of the white matter in brains was a little weaker. In order to send electrical signals across brain regions, these neurons had to work harder than they would in younger brains, or in a younger brain. It is the concept of less wiring, more firing, says Hakoon. This phenomenon is called hyperactivation. It is not clear that it is pathological, it could just be a normal part of aging. Practically, hyperactivation across all the neurons means that they could get tired out faster than younger neurons. It may be why some healthy older adults experience gradual cognitive decline over time. Their natural networks just can't communicate through axons the way they used to. But other adults or other older adults with hyperactivated brains can complete tasks as well as younger brains. That's a functional reorganization effect, says Hakoon. Somehow the brain has been able to reconfigure itself to carry out the same task despite its change in white matter. And I do think that it is somehow integrated into us. Maybe there's some way of just surviving, could also be the case, but anyway. With the advent of the PET scan or PET scan shortly after the MRI, researchers gained another insight into all the brains. PET scans show scientists which proteins are presented in different areas of the brain. Normally, brains keep themselves pretty clean, flushing out waste proteins that result from day-to-day cellular activities. But some get a little messy over time, unbeknownst to the owner. Researchers have found that some perfectly healthy individuals have higher level of protein called amyloid beta in their brains than others. It is not clear why. It could be that brains are making more amyloid than they should, or that brains aren't cleaning it out properly. In other case, extra amyloid usually isn't great. It can inflame and eventually kill neurons, and it is one of the main culprits of Alzheimer's disease, which is nothing that of a good thing, I would actually say, so sort of. And yet, having higher levels doesn't necessarily mean a person will go on to develop the disease. Some brains have gotten used to operating at the same level with more amyloid around, or have found ways to cope with its accumulation, which is getting us back to, okay, us being able to adapt to things really fucking well, I would say. Kinda, at least, you know. I do actually find out that closing one of my ears is just actually making it way easier for me to talk. You know, I do not really seem to be so loud, kinda, you know. I've actually always wondered why some singers are just closing one ear of theirs. I always wonder, maybe it's the exact same thing, maybe it's just making it easier, but it looks just fucking stupid. You know, I could also be doing it like that, but I kind of feel like that this is just doing better right now. Maybe I just, you know what? Let's do this. It is just even more stupid, but it's not even better. I know it kind of is even worse. But anyway, I'm gonna do it like this because it is kind of funny, I'd say. And yet, having higher levels doesn't necessarily mean a person will go on to develop the disease. Some brains have gotten used to operating at the same level with more. Oh, I've already read that. Which brings us an interesting question. What does resilience in the brain actually mean? Should scientists say resilient brains are those that seem to be able to cope with hyperactivation or build-ups of protein that should impair their function but don't? Or should be resilient ones be those that are somehow resistant to those changes in the first place? Which is a good question. In a way, it doesn't matter how the brain is staying healthy, just that it does however it can. The brain has a lot of redundant systems, says Zelinsky. So basically, if one system gets knocked out, other parts will compensate over time. Over time. Eventually, maybe. Doesn't really sound that promising, but yeah, anyway. Scientists are unsure how it appears that experiences early in life that involve connecting more networks of neurons, so classroom learning is a classic example, make it easier for the brain to adapt to physical changes that occur later in life. Frustratingly, through not knowing how these cognitive reserves form and keep the brain resilient, means it's difficult to harness this capacity into a treatment for dementia. Fucked up. However young, which is going to be kind of the last paragraph there. There's one other route that researchers could go to try understand normal cognitive aging, the so-called super agers, or ages, super ages. According to Emily Rogalski, a neuroscientist at Northwestern University, super agers are those who are at least 80 years old but perform on cognitive memory tests the same way you would expect someone in their 50s or 60s. Rogalski and her team have spent over a decade recruiting super agers to her lab and studying them over time. To date, she's had over about 80 participants, some of whom have passed away, but donated their brains to the research team, which is amazing, by the way. It is hard to say how many super agers are out there. Rogalski's lab merely advertises for them and in some cases recruits them. It is impossible to do a population estimate based on the people who came to her. However, she suspects they are rare, which for her research would ultimately be a good thing. It is easier to see if they have some features in common, she says. Yes, it would indeed be kind of easier. Superficially, superagers are a humongous group. Rogalski said spans socio-economic backgrounds, education levels, and ethnicities. Some have gone through significant trauma. One is a Holocaust survivor, and others have lost children at a young age. Some drink alcohol, some exercise regularly, and some need walkers or wheelchairs to get around. They share some deeper features though. For one thing, brain scans have shown that the front part of their brains, the cortex, is a lot larger than normal peers. It still appears to shrink, but at a much slower level than normal agers. They also seem to have more of a specific type of neuron called von Economo neurons. Little is known about these cells, but they are less common in people with severe mental illness, like schizophrenia. It could be that they play a role in social connections, Rogalski says. Superagers tend to have stronger social network than their peers. 2. This last trend is the most actionable for adults worried about their cognitive health. Scientists don't know why having social connections would contribute to the brain's resilience, but loneliness and social isolation can be early signs of dementia, which is not good. Given the complexity of the brain, however, there's likely not one secret to its success, and each redundant system to keep it functioning is an important for dementia research to someday find a successful treatment, which is hopefully not gonna take that long anymore. And I'm gonna actually do that. I don't know where I've stopped, but I'm just gonna take the whole one so that you're having it in the PDF. I'm actually very sorry that I went through this so fast. I'm kind of feared that I'm not gonna be able to just do it on time, some sorta. So therefore I just went through it as quickly as I could. But I do have to say, like, I do once again want to underline that leading a healthy lifestyle, whatever healthy means to you, and I think that I don't want to say like this is healthy and that is unhealthy or whatnot, because it's not probably gonna be the case. But the thing is, like, just try to be healthy. Try to be healthy. Try to stay healthy by diet, by sports, by doing whatever, by doing something that's good for you, by also being happy, I would say, as well. So I think that this is going to be the end of the episode once again, and I wish you the best health, of happiness, and also success, and also hope that you're going to remind yourself, and you're going to be remembered, which basically means your legacy, which basically means just being a nice person, and then being remembered as a nice person. And yeah, with that being said, I'm having 3 last questions for you, which are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? Please ask yourself these 3 questions, and I'm hopefully going to see you the next time. So thanks a lot, and I'm going to see you. So bye.